We're fortunate that some of the original Mouseketeers can join us in remembering that cultural phenomenon known as the Mickey Mouse Club. But one key member of the cast is no longer here to tell his story. That's why we want to pay special tribute to the man who was the heart and soul of the show, Jimmy Dodd.
I've been in show business a long, long time. Ever since I was in high school in Cincinnati. I played banjo in a little band in high school. But California, I met a fellow from the Disney Studios, a fellow named Bill Justice. And when he got to be a director at the Disney Studios, he asked me if I would care to submit a song about a pencil. Walt likes to give animation or life to inanimate objects, and it was just when the Disneyland show had started on Wednesday night, the network show. And one night he wanted to go on the show and say, "Tonight, folks, I want you to meet the star of the studio, without whom there would be no Mickey Mouse, no Donald Duck, the pencil." That was in the fall of 1954.
We want to pay special tribute to Jimmy Dodd and talk about, what he meant to the show and what he meant to each of you. Bobby, would you start us off?
People thought we looked alike, so they thought we were father and son because we had big pompadours and lots of teeth. So he wrote a song called Father and Son that we did on the show that was a real popular segment of the third year. And since then, I've taught that song to my son, and we did it on the Lawrence Welk Show. Yeah, so that was nice.
Karen, what do you think made him the ideal choice for this job?
Because he was the leader of the club. He really did. He held us together. He was always there, not just in the performing role, but as a mentor. He was just very, very special and loving, and he was just one of a kind.
If I asked you to describe some of his qualities, what words, Doreen, would come to mind?
Honesty, loyalty, sincerity. When Jimmy went on the road, we always waited for Jimmy to come downstairs after we did our performances, because we'd all get dressed up for dinner. He had to have his martini. Always had Mouska martini, and then we could have dinner.
Right.
Talk about his musical talent a little for him, would you, Sharon?
He played his mouse guitar all the time. He wrote a song, Do What the Good Book Says, that we all sang at the end of our live performances. He wrote most of the songs that we did on the Mickey Mouse Club.
Including the Mickey Mouse Club March.
Big deal of that, yes.
We are the Merry Mouseketeers, Mouseketeers! We've got a lot above our ears, above our ears! The talent given to you and me, we must develop faithfully, so we can be good Mouseketeers. Mouseketeers!
When we were on tour in Australia, there was a koala bear that he had picked up, and the koala bear must have been a Mouseketeer fan, because the koala bear was so excited it relieved itself on Jimmy. It was so frightened the nails were in Jimmy's arms and blood was trickling down. Jimmy has never sworn a day in his life, and he still didn't. He just said, "Isn't he darling? Isn't this wonderful?" as he's passing it back. That's Jimmy.
Hi, Cubby.
Hi, Jimmy. It's time for Words to Grow By.
You're right. Do you have some words for the Mouseketeers?
Sure.
Okay.
To me, he was definitely a father figure, I think, especially to the younger kids on the show. And he also treated each one of us the same, and he had no favorites. He didn't show any. He treated all of us exactly the same.
Do you remember the first time you met him, Lonnie?
Yeah, it was when I showed up as a replacement at a recording session, which is how I got on the Mickey Mouse Club. And he just seemed like such a nice guy. And then I learned over the years that everything everybody saw on TV is exactly what you get. That's the way he was, on and off camera.
Saddle your pony, here we go, down to the talent rodeo.
He wanted to be there and entertain, and he wanted to have us do good, and he wanted the show to be successful, and he was the heart and soul of the show.
But he had done a lot of other movies before that. He was one of the three Mouseketeers back in the 40s, I think it was, and some war movies. You see him in more movies.
Room service.
Room
Like I said, he
service.
was
Room service, yeah.
With Jimmy, just like many actors, they go through periods of time when it was dry. He couldn't get a job. And he had a wife and a family to support, and he was concerned how he was going to make a living. So when this opportunity came to be a writer for Disney, And then to be the MC, he was so grateful every day that he went in front of that camera that he would go the extra mile. Every time he saw a fan, they'd say, "Come on, Jimmy, we've got to get on that bus. We got to get out of town." He said, "Just one more, just one more." And he'd stand there until the last person got a signature from him.
And he was obviously the ideal man for the job. I don't know how Walt could have found anybody else quite like Jimmy Dodd. They would have had to invent Jimmy Dodd.
And I think it was kind of ironic that this was his final project. I think this was a fitting way for him to end his life, was this way, to be able to write those songs and give his philosophy out and to have this great show. Just, it was meant to be for him, I think.
Now, I'd be the very last person to knock such a fine notion flat. But first, let me ask you one question. Who'll put the darn thing on the cat? Now, maybe you've guessed it tomorrow. It ought to be simple enough. It's easy to get an idea, but to carry it out may be tough.
We can't escape the irony that this man who was kind of a father figure to a whole generation and was in real life to so many of you, never had any children of his own.
And maybe that's why. Yes.
I think he did look at us like his children.
Did you keep up your friendship with him after the show concluded?
He took us to Australia twice, in 59 and 60, and organized that whole thing. And then he did keep inviting us to this Share the Blessings brunch every Easter, so we saw him then. Plus, when we were Mouseketeers, he used to have great parties at his house. He had a swimming pool also, and it would be like he and his old aunt and his grandmother and his wife, of course, Ruth, who wrote some of the songs with him, and his two big cats. Remember, he loved cats.
The girls in high school all wanted to meet Jimmy. They wanted to date him. They thought he was much younger than me.
Right. They really thought he was younger. Our show stopped filming in 1958, so what was he, in his 40s, late 40s, when the show was on? And he looks like he's in his 20s.
Yeah, he had a very youthful quality about him, absolutely.
Sometimes I get little love letters, and they said, "My sister's in love with you. She's going to marry you." And I said, "How old is she?" And they said, 2. Isn't that cute?
He went to Hawaii to do a local show, and he became ill. And Mouseketeer Cheryl was there on her honeymoon, and she went to see him, and he looked fine, and they said he probably would be released the next day. And when they came back the following day, he had passed away.
Jimmy, as he was affectionately known to millions of TV viewers, was taken home to be with the Lord late yesterday. The 54-year-old guitar-strumming chief Mouseketeer passed away due to a heart ailment. He authored some 400 songs in his lifetime, including He Was There. Here now is a portion of that song.
Unlike some individuals, he had no need to proselytize for any particular religion. He just did what he believed was correct in living your life that way. He never said you should believe this or that. And I really appreciated that some as a child, but much more later, because most people have their own agenda. Jimmy Dodd had no agenda but just that everybody's going to be okay. Just doesn't happen every day with every person you meet. Just us.
I expect to pass through life but once. If, therefore, there be any kindness I can show, or any good thing I can do to any fellow being, let me do it now and not defer or neglect it, as I shall not pass this way again. And now I'll be going my way.